like.
Member for Melton.
Thank you, Acting Speaker. I thought I was up next, but anyway, we'll give it a crack. Eh? And I rise to contribute to the great debate on Criminal Organisation and Control Amendment Bill 2024. And I'm sure the member for Sunbury would have given a greater contribution than myself, but as I say, we'll give it a crack. But clearly, this is a very important, and it's recognised around the clock of the great work of the Victorian Police and what they do in risking their lives every single day to protect Victorians. And targeting criminal organisations is only one part of their job, but they do a fantastic job keeping us all safe, and we can make it easier for them to prevent crime and target organised criminal involvement through these amendments being discussed today. And I'm pleased that the opposition are supportive of this bill. I just want to commend Vic Poll, and I know members before me have, in their contributions, have raised what happened yesterday down at the Convention Centre and the ridiculous protest. Again, everyone has a right for a peaceful protest, but that yesterday was nowhere near a peaceful protest, and clearly it was organised to create havoc down there and target the police, and I commend the police for their actions. It was a ridiculous protest. It didn't serve the purpose of what they were trying to do, the protesters. But I do commend that people do have a right to continue a peaceful protest and not their actions like they did yesterday. But I wish all the police members our best wishes, and the ones that were injured yesterday, I hope they have a quick recovery. This bill, through these amendments, will ultimately make Victoria safer and strengthen Victoria's response to organised crime by amending the unlawful associations and introducing the serious crime prevention orders alongside the banning of the public display of insignia in designated organisations. This bill will target organised crime and criminal involvement on the Victorian worksites, and the amendments that are being discussed in this debate will modify the existing unlawful association powers of Criminal Organisations Control Act, and it will provide oversight for an oversight of the scheme by IBAC. And they will provide for a new mechanism for making serious crime prevention orders. It prevents the public display of designated insignia, and it will create a new offence outlawing declared groups from entering government worksites. The bill aims to prevent and disrupt serious and organised crime in Victoria, and I'm sure all of us here and our communities out there where we're out in our electorates want that to occur. And we recognise that all people have a right to feel safe in their workplaces and go about their days without the fear that these organised crime groups instil and their intimidation and harassment of community members and business owners. Of course, some may argue that these amendments are too broad, but legislation needs to be adaptable and have the ability to evolve over time to be most effective and fit for purpose. And these modifications will also enable an effective independent safeguards to be held by IBAC in their oversight of the scheme. Of course, the Allan Labor government is dedicated to preventing and disrupting serious and organised crime in Victoria by implementing a series of reforms aimed at and enhancing the state's response to this organised crime. And of course, these reforms are a part of the Community Safety Statement from 2018-19. And this bill will complement other legislation recently passed and which has expanded powers around cybercrime, cryptocurrency seizures, and electronic and specialist search powers. Of course, we understand that the legislation needs to adapt and react to changes in the criminal environment to keep Victorians safe. And we all know that organised crime are always looking for different avenues to operate and control and intimidate and harass and harm. So they're evolving as we introduce laws. Organised crime are evolving themselves and looking at different pathways to commit their crimes. Of course, serious crime and organisations are becoming increasingly sophisticated in regard to how they act, in the tactics that they use in targeting Victorians and vulnerable Victorians and vulnerable businesses. And that's why we need to recognise the changes and involve our legislation to combat the avenues that organised crime play with. Of course, and it's been raised before, and I think the member for Greenvale raised it about the cost that organised crime is having on our country, right across the country, and it is around about just over $60 billion across the country on an annual basis. And that's just direct losses through their criminal activity, and of course in us having to have preventable law enforcement, whether that be increasing numbers in the police force, changing the laws, implementing that, funding IBAC to do the job that they need to do to oversee what happens with these laws and organised crime. So that's a big cost. And of course in my electorate of Melton, we know that part of that $60 billion could be better spent in each one of our electorates, and I know it would go a long way to assist my electorate in building more schools, investing in healthcare, supporting vital community services. If we could reduce that cost of $60 billion annually across the country, and that money could go back towards our communities, we would all be better off. And that's why a crackdown on organised crime is so important. The serious and organised crime groups are harming the livelihoods of hard-working Victorians, and of course these groups spread fear and hostility, ruthlessly targeting small business and tobacco, blowing them up like barbarians with no regard for the families and the individuals behind these businesses whose lives they are choosing to destroy. And Melton's not been spared from the barbaric actions of these criminals. Melton's infamous High Street, home to Morgan's IGA, Stone Bar and Grill, Augustus Gelati, just to name a few businesses, is usually a vibrant hub filled with shoppers, bustling businesses and people enjoying a coffee or a meal from diverse cuisines. There was a recent attack in High Street and of course the business operators and the business owners have been very, very shaken, and so are the local members of our community. The tobacco shop in High Street was hit by a petrol bomb, and that's kept crowds away, instilling fear and anxiety among business owners. It's left a large big black hole in once prominent section of High Street in Melton, and it has impacted the florist near the site and the Stone Bar and Grill restaurant, where many families choose to enjoy a meal and enjoy the hospitality. I spoke to a local business owner, Harpreet, just recently, and his shop was next door to the tobacco shop that was targeted. Harpreet's business has suffered extensive damage, and he's still waiting for his electricity to be restored. And it's severely impacted his ability to make a living. And he indicated to me that he's seriously considering having to shut his business down. And without electricity, it's very difficult. People don't even know that his business is still open, even though it's in an area where people don't want to frequent because of what occurred in regard to the firebombing of the tobacco store next door. And of course, just around the corner from my office, about 18 months ago, there was a new tobacco shop that was to open. I think it was Christmas 2022. And just before it was about to open, it was petrol bombed, causing significant damage. And now that business has, shutters that they have come down at night, trying to protect their business. And we see the effects of those actions of criminal organisations targeting these local businesses and causing them difficulty in trying to make a living and trying to stay safe and trying to keep our community members safe. So that's just the effect in some of my area of Melton. Of course, this is a really important bill, and I thank the Attorney General, I thank the Police Minister and their staff for all the work that they've done on this bill in trying to introduce this legislation and enhance the legislation in supporting the safety of Victorians and supporting business operators and to drive organised crime out of business. That's one businesses that we should shut down, and that's organised crime. And I support this bill and I commend it to the House.